Hello, Stephanie Toman here with another video-based learning on the ICDL Advanced Spreadsheets qualification. We're using Excel 2016 to demonstrate. This video is going to be looking at a feature called Pay Special. Great little feature within Excel where you don't need to use formula functions to do things like adding, multiply, minus, etc. A great area is the one using values, where you can replace existing formula in a spreadsheet with values and start from scratch in a couple of clicks. Also, there's a little bit on the end about moving and copying. All of this is part of the advanced spreadsheet syllabus, but it's also useful maybe for just having a look in and see what you could do with these things. So you've got the moving and copying within workbooks to a new workbook and between existing workbooks. So I hope you enjoy using the materials you can. If you want to go along with this, they are available.
This video is going to be concentrating on Pay Special first of all. So let's open up Pay Special and find all these in your lecture materials for week 2. Okay, so as I've done before in the previous video, we're going to go through the different features that you can use in Pay Special, and this is something that the exam covers. I'll just bring it down. You can see that I always, as I've said before, if you've watched the previous video, I always put in some bits and bobs there just to help remind you for revision purposes and other things on the spreadsheet. Okay, and this is just a picture, if you like, just to help to bring it home. So as we did before, I'm going to use the add. So let's look at the add. The way that the questions can sometimes come across in the exam is they use things like use built-in commands. Or if we look at the next one, the multiply, use multiply that range without using a formula or functions. That's the sort of language that they tend to use when we use these. So be aware of that, that you're not going to be using a function or a formula to do something. It's going to be a Pay Special. So in this one, we've got an add. The first thing they do is we want to add B2 to B4 to M4. So you copy the cell that you're going to use, you highlight the range that you're going to apply it to, and then you do the job. So you drop down Pay Special, into Pay Special main window, click on the operation that you wish to use, the add, OK, and you can see that it's worked. To take the hash off, just use the escape key, and that stops flashing. OK, let's do another one, multiply. Once again, I'm using exactly the same cell range to get you into the method. I'm going to copy the one we're using to do the multiply. We're going to highlight the area we are going to apply the multiply to, and then we're going to go on and do the job. Click on the multiply operation there, OK, and then you can see that it's done its job. Divide, same thing. I'm sure you've got the message by now. It is pretty straightforward, but it's just about understanding what the question's after and using the right thing. Okay, the transpose one, a little bit different. You probably saw the Pay Special when we brought it up. There's a transpose option just here. So this feature is a great little feature because sometimes, years ago, I would have maybe done a range, if you like, to prep for a graph or a chart. And then I've realised that I've not really set it out very well, and it needs to be done in a different direction. And sometimes when you do things in columns instead of rows, it doesn't always work. So we're going to transpose this data from a vertical way to a horizontal way. So we copy the range first, place the cursor where you wish to transpose it to, in this case it's A20, and then go in and use the transpose feature. Okay, it's only in bright yellow just so it shows you what's going on. So transposing, really useful in the real world and also part of the syllabus. So I'm going to close this workbook down now. I'm not going to save because I use it as demonstration. And then we're going to move into the next area called Move and Copy. So let's open up that workbook next. Now, Move and Copy, might sound like, oh, you know, I do know how to do these things. I've been doing studying for quite some time now. But what we need to do is we need to make sure that you know it clearly for the exam. So let's just run over it. So you've got move. If you grab a sheet, you can move it and you can see the sheet itself. My cursor's flashing at the moment, and you can see the little black down arrow. So moving is quite easy. You can also move if you right click and use the feature move and copy. And you can move within a sheet. So if you wanted to move it to the end, you could do that. If, however, you want to copy it to the same sheet somewhere else, you need to make sure that you remember to click on the Create a Copy. If you don't want to move it within that workbook amongst those sheets, you may want to move it to a new workbook. So that way you would drop down. If I'm going to copy it in this case, not move it, and copy, and I'm going to go to a new workbook, and then if I OK, you'll see on screen that I get this brand new workbook, book 1, and I have the North copy in there. Go back to the other one, and the North is still there. So I did create a copy, which is the way I should have done it. If I wanted to duplicate a sheet, I can grab it and hold the Control key and drag and drop. And you can see that it's a useful thing because it will continue to do the same sheet, same worksheet, and it will give it a different number because obviously worksheets cannot have the same name. But that way, if you had bookkeeping or something or monthly income that you need to look at, you can carry on using exactly the same data and then just change the data in those areas. And then you could highlight those 3, that one and that, and you could delete using the Shift key. Or one by one, doesn't really matter. Okay, so we've looked at the move and copy within the sheet. We've looked at the move or copy to another workbook. What if you wanted to do another workbook, that existing workbook? So let's just go back to our folder. Let's open up Pay Special, just so we've got the 2 workbooks open. So when I go back to the original move or copy, if I now right click move or copy and I'm creating a copy this time and I've got to go to the Pay Special workbook, it is now available. So both workbooks need to be open in order for you to switch between one and the other. So now you have the option of the book that we created with the one worksheet North, which we haven't named. We've got the other workbook, existing workbook that's open, and we've got a new workbook. So it will really depend on if you have another workbook open, whether you can move or copy that sheet into that workbook. So don't want to patronize anyone, but it's really important that you get that clearly in your head for the exam. For some reason in the exam, people get a little bit disorientated with simulation, and sometimes they move it from the wrong one to the wrong one. Okay, so just be aware of it. Okay, I'm going to close that, not save, close our Pay Special.